Come with me, we'll go and see a place called Candy Island.
Who needs Candy Island? It's safer at the docks.
Great gains only come with great risk, and this is the core theme, the essential motif of the television program The Flapjack Show, which aired on Cartoon Network from the 2008 year of our Lord until its finale in 2010. The story centers around the titular Flapjack, a young boy with a heart of gold, one who seeks the thrill of adventure. Accompanying him is one Captain Knuckles, a down-on-his-luck sailor who teaches Flapjack how to make it in this cruel world. And of course, we have a talking whale, Bubby, whose sexual energy is as perverse as her desire to keep Flapjack on the straight and narrow. These three find themselves floundering to make their way in Stormalong Harbor. A cacophony of misadventures awaits them as they seek out both Candy Island and, of course, the candy itself. Yeah, in this world, candy is just alcohol. It gets you drunk, and the sailors like that. This is explored several times and explains why Knuckles has such poor decision-making skills in young Flapjack, less than an average IQ. And as such, Knucky and Flapjack often find themselves partaking in less than savory acts to fuel this addiction. They steal, they lie, cheat, and even prostitution is on the table sometimes. And that's the show. Knucky wants something, drags Flapjack into a shitty situation, and maybe they get out of it, or maybe not. Now, Flapjack, he don't like it when Knuckles delves into the morally gray, but Knucky finds a way to convince him that, hey, the ends justify the means. And this works, because to Flooples, Knucky is a hero, a true adventurer, everything that Flumbles aspires to be in life. He's too young, too naive to distinguish between the tall tales Captain Kenobi tells him and the truth that everyone else seems to already know. That in reality, he's just a selfish, unemployed, perpetually drunk bum whose only friend is a kid who lives in a whale. So I assume many of you are asking at this point, what about Candy Island? When do we get to Candy Island, Tyler? Let's go to Candy Island. See, that's complicated, because Candy Island is less of a place and more of an idea, an aspiration, something that represents a better life, where this drunken bliss awaits you at every corner. But if it was easy to get there, well, everyone would go. And while in most shows our heroes would overcome adversity and one day make it to their destination, proving that you can do anything if you put your mind to it, this isn't most shows. And our heroes, they're not really heroes. They're just weird. And even if Flapjack is a happy-go-lucky kid right now, he's just gonna end up like Knucky one day. He's gonna get wasted and do anything to fuel his addictions. The show itself has little continuity, so forgive me if my synopsis lacks a detailed plot. There's a self-contained story every episode, an adventure. Sometimes there's an octopus, sometimes there's a dog. It doesn't really matter. None of it matters, except for one episode, the final episode. Entitled Fish Out of Water, the episode begins with Pontoon and his loyal peg boy succumbing to their addictions once more. But this time, they're really hitting it hard. See, here, it's believed that if you eat too much candy, you'll turn into a fish. So they eat too much or drink too much and they turn to fish, and then they get kicked out of Stormalong for being fish. So then they go to the fish world and they get admitted to the fish hospital, and then they recover. It's all good, and then they find out, hey, eating candy, it can't turn you into a fish. They just had Ebola or something. So then they return home, and guess what? They haven't quite learned their lesson, so they, well, just watch.
Peppermint Larry, we won't turn into fish.
Who said anything about turning into fish?
And that's it. They become real people and get kicked out of Stormalong for good. The final shot is just them casting off to go find a new home, sailing away on their talking, sexy-ass whale. They fucked up one too many times, and now they gotta leave the docks. Leave this fantasy world where candy can sustain you for months, where employment is merely an option, and, well, you'll always make it through at the end of the day. But now it's real life, and Flapjack and Knuckles are cast into reality, faults and all. It's a fine ending. It's simply a good conclusion to a good show. Or at least it was. Cartoon Network surprised everybody with a bit of new Flapjack 9 years later. What we got was a live-action film, a continuation to the Flapjack story. We were promised that this would answer the great mystery at the end of the show. What happens when our friends are forced away from the docks, and how would they deal with living in the real world? Entitled The Lighthouse, it definitely ranks as one of the better Cartoon Network films, possibly on par with the classic Johnny Bravo Goes to Bollywood. So first off, remember that Flapjack did not take place in modern times. The movies, the bicycles, proper medicine, it was all just being invented. So yeah, it's safe to assume that this whole show took place during the late 1800s. Well, the film stays true to this, really stays close to the late 19th century roots. It's these small details that I like. It lets you know that the director wasn't just doing this for a quick paycheck, but that he was really a true fan of the source material. And before I go into the film, I just want you to know that I'm gonna spoil this, okay? We start off, fittingly enough, in a boat. Definitely staying close to those nautical roots, I see. Life's been rough for our duo. It's safe to assume that Bubby is dead, because, well, she's just not in the movie. He probably got dissected or something for being this. What a shame. Flapjack and Knuckles, well, they're in a pretty rough state after all this. I have to assume that they had some sort of falling out because, I mean, they act like total strangers at first. Flappy's in desperate need of employment, though, and it just so happens that Kuncock needed an assistant, a lighthouse keeper, so there's your call to action. It's really odd how Floopy doesn't say a word to his old pal at first. He just works and eats and sleeps. Really puts into perspective that whatever has happened to Flop since we last saw him, well, it's changed him. Then we see Kanaki just staring at the lighthouse, and it's all weird, and Floomple is walking out to the ocean. He sees a dead body, and then he falls in, and there's a mermaid, but it's a dream, or maybe it's not. I'm sure we're gonna have another marvelous misadventure. But for how much has stayed the same, a few things, they're staunchly different. Gone is Flapjack's love for adventure. Gone is his love for the sea. Even his love for his old pal Captain Crunch hasn't stood the test of time. But get a few drinks in him and it's just like old times. Yeah, candy might have made you drunk and storm along, but here you're gonna need something thicker. And by that, I mean liquor. Kanucky is still privy to giving us those sweet parcels of sailor wisdom. He tells Flappy, hey boy, mermaids are bad. They make you crazy. The last guy who worked for me went crazy, or maybe they're fake. Maybe the guy was just crazy and there's no mermaids. Kanucky don't know. He don't know. And Cumberbum saw Fleep Floop fighting with seagulls earlier, and he lets him know.
Bad luck to kill a seabird.
We find out that Captain Ginyu was also married at some point, probably to this woman. But yeah, it's not just all fun and games. Flapdab is still a bit off. Still a little weirdo. He keeps trying to see what's at the top of the lighthouse, and Koopa King is like, no, it's my lighthouse. Against Chi-Chi's advice, Floop Doop goes anyway, and he tries to sneak a peek up there, and instead he gets a whole eye full of something he wasn't looking for. Captain Can Nutty is up there whacking it, and there's some tentacles that I assume belong to Eight-Armed Willie. So then Flapjack, he goes out and he smacks a seagull against a rock for a minute or two because and now the winds have changed. They're changing. So then they get drunk again. They sing some songs. They have a few laughs. After this, they took a piss. Went to go and check Twitter. And when I got back, Flappy Bird was finding another mermaid. And she just screams at him and he runs away. So I assume the mermaid cursed the island because then a big storm hits. And our ship can get to the island now. Oh, Fat Whack stuck there. And then over the next undisclosed period of time, Catsack and Kakarot are left to their own devices, stranded with little to satiate the pain but a swig of Captain Morgan. And Koichi keeps telling Phil the future weird shit that contradicts all the time. He says they've been stuck there for weeks, but it just feels like a day. And he lies about his broken leg, but in the original, these legs were fake, and Flapjack's catching on. And Floop says he doesn't like Captain Toad's cooking, so he curses him with the power of the sea. Flumpjunk tries to get the key to the lighthouse when Captain Cocoa Pebbles is sleeping, but then he just tries to kill him, then he doesn't, and then he starts laughing, and then they get drunk again, and they almost give into those feelings we always knew they shared for each other, but then they just start punching, hug it out. Then Floopy Doop, he goes and he ruins it like he always does. He spills the beans, Johnny. He tells Toucan Sam that he killed some guy he used to work with because he was a big bully. So Floomride then goes to the top of the lighthouse. Then he sees Captain Willie standing naked with lights coming out of his eyes. I mean, it's very core Flapjack stuff, this imagery. The next day, Sack Map tries to escape on a little boat, but Canned Foods, he don't like this. So he chases him with an axe, and Flap is all like, hey, that's not cool. And Canucky's is all like, what do you mean, me boy? 'Twas you who tried to split me in twain with an axe. Why, Flapjack? Well, what are you trying to do to your old pal Canucky? Captain Cookie Crisp fires him. Then they fight some more, and Canucky turns into a mermaid, and he's Poseidon, and Flapjack turns him into a dog.
Ain't you never been to sea before? Back, I said, back! Back, Maddie!
And as a dog, Knuckles, he's a good boy. He follows orders to a T, and when asked, promptly falls into his grave. Anyway, Farrah Fawcett grabs his keys, goes up to the lighthouse, or he tries to at least, before Canucky comes at him with a shovel. For Thunderbird, though, is an experienced fighter, and Kamehameha doesn't stand a chance. So now Flapjack is free to go up and see what awaits him in the lighthouse. And when he gets there, we don't actually see what's in there, but it seems pretty good at first. I mean, don't he look happy? I assume that he's probably seen Candy Island, because I mean, isn't that all he ever wanted? Other than adventure and Knuckles, and he's got a fair share of adventure today, and Knuckles is, But then I guess it's not too great anymore, and he's pretty upset. And then he falls down a staircase and seagulls eat him. And that's the movie. That's the end of Flapjack. Now, the abstract imagery and somewhat incoherent events throughout the film seems to have confused some lesser-minded people. They speculate that Flapjack was supposed to be Prometheus trying to get the fire in the lighthouse. That's just 7th grade literature bullshit. They're fucking dumb. Poseidon rules the sea, dumbass. The film is not that complicated. My god, it's about a fucking 12-year-old show on Cartoon Network. And if you view it through the lens of the original program, the source material, it makes sense. The draw of Candy Island, a perfect world without conflict, only brings man to a breaking point. So yeah, they never got to Candy Island. No streams of sody pop trickling down the rocks. Something that's so good, it can't possibly be true. The greatest rewards will always come with the greatest risks. And that is the point of all of this. The lesson of the show and its subsequent film. All we ever needed to know was right there from the start. Who needs Candy Island? It's safer on the docks. This is Tyler of Knowledge Hub.